Welcome to Girl Talk with Amy, Anna, and Lisa.
Come on, girls. Yeah, you know it's our world. So tell me, where the girls at?
Welcome to Girl Talk. We get together as friends to hear all about each other's lives. Like most girlfriends, we spend some time saying, hey, what's going on with work, what's going on with the family, etc., etc. Of course, we help each other through those very tough times. We all have them. And then when we have successes, we're cheering and we're jumping for joy and we relish in the moment. When we get together, we spend some time with no filters, no judgments, speaking freely. We call it joining the comfort zone. We're absolutely not worried about what each other thinks or what each other says or how we say it. We want to be free and comfortable to free our mind. One day we realized this is pretty cool. We get together in the comfort zone and we learn a lot and we help each other. What if we shared the same environment with all of you? What if we could create a situation where we could share ideas, educate, and inform and help other women actually enjoy the fruits of their labor and enjoy their lives and have a place that they can join and feel comfortable? You're welcome to join us in the comfort zone. The girls, your friends, the ladies. Hey girls, what do we call them? Yep, the cantaloupes, those things that we all walk around with. Girl Talk is here to bring something front and center to our conversation today. You know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we need to talk about the girls. That's right. Let's all step into the comfort zone and let's meet our wonderful guest, Brenda Smith, who is here to educate us. Let me tell you a little bit about Brenda. Brenda B. Smith is a caring licensed natural health care provider who has served in the San Gabriel Valley for multiple years, since 2001, I believe. Correct, Brenda? From her office right there in Pasadena. Brenda's experience with highly stressed women in the spa industry led her and her massage therapist background to study natural medicine. She attended Yosan University in Santa Monica, California, where she received a degree in acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine in 2000. Brenda has spent most of her postgraduate years educating women about nutrition, as well as the effects of their physical and emotional stresses on their overall health. Several years ago, she was introduced to a non-invasive, radiation-free breast exam. This exam changes everything. She implemented it into her practice, and today she's driven and committed to educate women about the truth about breast cancer, as well as having a fantastic goal. Listen to this. She wants to reduce breast cancer diagnosis in the United States by 25% over the course of the next 5 years. A goal that she believes that she can definitely achieve, and she can help women control their health and take back their life. Thank you so very much for joining us, Brenda B. Smith.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, Brenda. I am super excited to have you here today on Girl Talk and to continue for you to educate us women on Breast Cancer Awareness Month of October. I'm really curious if you could please share with us how you plan on your goal of reducing breast cancer by 25%.
Well, it's actually really simple. There are some very simple things that we could be doing that are scientifically backed that can prevent breast cancer. The problem we're having in this country is the conversation is about cancer. I'm not a cancer specialist. I'm a prevention specialist. And the things that we can do to prevent breast cancer are not that difficult. First and foremost, and I've been saying this for years, and it's interesting that it's coming up now on the news feeds with regards to COVID over the last 3 or 4 days, it seems to be hitting really hard. Vitamin, which one? D, vitamin D. Vitamin D is very specific to the breast, okay? It has 2 actions on cancer cells. The first thing it does is it reminds the cells to die. The problem with cancer cells is that they're normal cells that have had their DNA changed, they're damaged, and the normal cell will be born, it'll do what it does, and then it dies. Cancer cells don't die. It's a process called apoptosis. They forget to die. So what they do is then they duplicate themselves. Vitamin D turns apoptosis back on, specifically in the breast. So it can kill a cancer cell that's sitting there. The other thing it does is that it cuts off blood supply to existing tumors. So if you don't have blood supply to something that's growing in your body, it can't thrive. So how easy is it to take vitamin D on a daily basis, get enough sunshine, and get our levels up to 50? That's what the research says. If we get our blood levels up to 50 for vitamin D, breast cancer cells cannot thrive. Does that mean that it's going to wipe all of them out? No. Some of them are genetic. But one thing that we don't realize is that only 3 to 5% are genetic. So what about the other 95% of us? So if we all actively take our vitamin D and get our levels up to 50, if 95% of those breast cancers are diet and lifestyle triggered, we should cut at least 25% in the next 5 years.
What is the amount of vitamin D that you suggest that we take?
It depends on where you live, and it depends on your existing levels, right? In Southern California, if you're getting sunshine, if you're getting outside, you may not need to take as much as if you live, let's say, in the Northeast where there's not as much sun, especially in the wintertime. So on the regular, I take 2,000. In the winter, I bump it up to 5 because I'm not going to be outside as much, 5,000. But you have to get a baseline. And vitamin D is something that you should be asking your doctor for when you go to get your labs to find out where you are. 98% of us are deficient because we're not out in the sun. We're just not. So for general immunity, they're saying 35 is good and 35 is great, but 50 is even better when we're talking about breast health. So get your baseline taken, get your vitamin D. Really important, get vitamin D3 with K2. So what happens is the body absorbs the vitamin D and calcium, because those are all kind of interconnected, and K tells it where to go. So it's important to have the K so the K can direct the minerals to where they need to be and the vitamin D to where it needs to go. Wherever your baseline is, then just work it from there. 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever is going to get your levels up to where they need to be.
How do we get started if we don't know? So you're telling us to go get our blood work done, speak to our doctor to get the baseline, and then take the necessary steps to get there. Something else that something else that I'm curious about is this new method of being less invasive to the exam. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
My first go-to is ultrasound. Because if you've had a breast exam where there's been something, or if you've had a mammogram, right, where they find something, the next step is ultrasound, because the ultrasound is more specific. The tricky part with ultrasound is that typically the technicians are not trained on how to check a breast. When you do an ultrasound, like on your stomach or, on your thyroid, they're not moving parts. But you're working with a breast, it's moving tissue. So most ultrasound technicians are not really trained to work with the breast. But there are some companies out there that are training the technicians to look specifically for things in the breast. There is a doctor who has been a mentor of mine, Dr. Kevin Kelly. He's in Pasadena, and he invented an ultrasound that checks the entire breast, just like we used to do with the Sure Touch. So that's my go-to. That's what I've switched to. We do still also have thermography. Thermography is not that specific in terms of what it sees, but it can tell you that there's some heat generating there. So thermography is looking for that blood. Remember I said you need blood to feed a tumor. So thermography is looking for that, to say, okay, there's a little bit of heat circulation going on here, and then you can follow up with that. And then of course MRI, which is, can be cost prohibitive, but if you really wanted to be sure, you could order an MRI. But ultrasound at this point is going to be our next best thing.
So do you suggest that when we have our mammograms, we also ask for the ultrasound just to be safe?
Yes, absolutely. We should have 2 different ways to check ourselves. So what I recommend for women, some women are just going to have a hard time not having a mammogram, and I get that. We've been ingrained with that. We trust that, so to speak, a good portion of women. But if you are not a high risk group, you don't have a high family history, and you're concerned about the radiation, then do the mammogram every 2 years or every 3 years, spread it out. And then the years in between, do the ultrasound. And then, ladies, nobody should know your girls better than you. Do yourself breast exams. They know that at least 25 to 30, if not more, % of breast cancers are found by the women themselves, right? Get to know your lumps and bumps. Get to know what's normal for you. Get to know what happens when you get your period and how your breasts swell and, the lumps that appear and disappear. Cancer's not going to come and go, right? It's going to be fixed. So that if you find something that you notice, okay, well, that wasn't there last time, and a couple of weeks go by and your cycle comes and goes and it's still there, then you know to go get it checked. But nobody should know your breast better than you.
Coming from the breast augmented group, yes, that's me. It's a secret, obviously. But I, in my experiences of having a mammogram, I had it this year. I had it last year. I'm terrified when I go in to get my mammogram done. Are they going to pop? Are they going to press too hard? So obviously, I want to turn to that ultrasound machine. And you think that it's just as effective, if not more, than having a mammogram?
I do. And what mammogram advocates will tell you, first they'll tell you it's the gold standard because that's what the medical community has called it. Okay. A gold standard really should be the best, and it is not. So what they will tell you is that the mammogram is the only one that can find calcifications. And that's true. What is a calcification? A calcification is calcium deposits in the breast that have the potential to become cancer. So calcifications in the breast, for the most part, are a 0 on a scale from 1 to 4 in terms of cancers. They're pre-cancers. So remember I talked about vitamin K and how vitamin K tells things where to go? We in the natural community, especially talking about breasts, are wondering, okay, so are these calcifications happening because women are taking calcium but they're not taking vitamin K? The calcium is ending up in random parts of our body because the K isn't there to tell it where to go. Don't know. It's a possibility. But in terms of your implants, the woman that introduced me to SureTouch had both of her implants ruptured during a mammogram. Not uncommon. The other thing that I learned from Dr. Kelly, who is a radiologist, he's been doing breasts for 40 years. I mean, this man knows his stuff. The implants hold the radiation longer than our normal breast tissue. So if you're talking about damage to your body, every time you radiate those implants, your body is holding a percentage of that, and the implants is holding it twice as long.
Wow. I'm going to have to get Dr. Kelly's number from you.
Yeah. Look him up. He's in Pasadena. Amazing resource.
And then back to your advice about vitamin D. Now we've been told our whole lives to cover up from the sun, right? Mm-hmm. So too much vitamin D is bad. I'm a beach baby. Like I live at the beach when it's warm enough and I'm allowed to, and I can, my schedule lets me. So we still need to protect our skin, but when we're wearing sunscreen for protection, are we still able to suck up that vitamin D from the sun?
No. So here's the thing. Staying out of the sun is not about too much vitamin D. It's about skin cancer. And that's because the radiation that's coming from the sun is so much more intense, especially for the years that the ozone was really at risk. So we were getting, like when I was a kid, I grew up in New York, so we also a beach baby. My family's in Dominican Republic. I was there all the time. We'd hang out at the beach all day long and we never got burned. Now I could be in my car in shorts and I have to cover my legs because I get, it gets intense. So it's not about the D, it's about the skin cancer risk. The other part of that answer is if you're wearing sunscreen or sunblock, no, you're not getting vitamin D. Vitamin D is a hormone. It's not really a vitamin. It's something that our body produces when the sun hits us. What I recommend to a lot of people is, especially my seniors, trying to protect their bones. They need that. Go out and just get the bottom of your legs in the sun. Get your feet out in the sun without sunscreen, because those are areas that are really not susceptible so much to skin cancer. Just get it on your legs if you can. If you can get it naturally, great, but still check your levels to make sure that your body is really synthesizing it the way it should.
Can we go back to the actual exam with an ultrasound exam? It felt like it was much more complete than a mammogram. And
Absolutely.
it covered all areas. So for the listeners, tell them a little bit about what an ultrasound would do. What would that exam feel like?
Okay, so when you're talking about coverage and experience, we'll call it that, right? What the experience is. For a mammogram, they can get the part of the breast that is away from the body, right? So it's what goes in your bra is what will go in the mammogram machine. However, breast tissue goes into our armpits and it comes all the way up here into our clavicle, and none of that gets in the mammogram machine, right? So when you have a freestanding sensor, you're able to get all the breast tissue in every area that it could possibly exist. Dr. Kelly developed what's called a whole breast ultrasound machine. So it's the ultrasound sensor and it's on an arm and it covers all the breast, top to bottom, every single area anything could be hiding. So that's a huge difference. That's a huge difference because I've been at events where the panelists were just cleared from their mammograms and weeks later they found their lumps in completely places that there's no way the mammogram machine can get it in.
So for those individuals that can't go see Dr. Kelly because maybe they're in a different part of the country and they're just talking to their doctors about a regular ultrasound, they need to specifically seek out a technician that has been trained to actually cover all areas. That's
to do breast. To do breast. If they're doing breast, they know that they need to cover everything. And there's a company out there, and I want to reach out to them. I believe they're national. It's called HerScan. And they're a mobile breast exam ultrasound. I'm going to do a little more investigation about who they are and where they are. I know they're in Southern California, but I think they're nationwide. But yes, if you're looking anywhere in the country for someone to do ultrasound, you have to ask and make sure that they've been trained to do breast. Breasts are tricky because we are all different shapes and sizes and different firmness and different density and everything. So it takes a lot of experience to be able to negotiate the breast and to be able to really read thoroughly through it.
So Brenda, thanks for all the wonderful information that you just shared with us. I also heard that you have a book coming out, or is it already out? Can you tell us more about it?
Absolutely. It came out 2 years ago, actually. It's been 2 years. It's amazing. And the title is Mammograms Do Not Prevent Breast Cancer and Other Things You Thought Were True. And the reason I wrote it is because in speaking and educating women, I realized that we don't understand the difference between detection and prevention. And I would ask, how many of you understand that mammograms prevent breast cancer? And hands would go up. And I'd say, no, mammograms don't prevent breast cancer. They're detection. They're looking for something that's already there. And I'd get these, like some of the lights would go on. It's like, oh my goodness, she's right. And then some people would be like, wow, but that's not what I'm understanding because we're being told that prevent breast cancer, get your mammogram. No, there's prevention and there's detection. So the book is about that. It's all the research. Of course, I'm giving you my opinion. I'm giving you my clinical experience having, started doing breast exams and understanding this whole topic. But everything I cite are scientific journals. They're peer-reviewed journals. The research is there from all over the world and where the trend is going. There are countries that aren't even doing mammograms anymore because they see that they're really not doing they're doing more harm than good in some cases. The number of surgeries that we're having in this country over things that are not life-threatening is staggering. And it's because we're not asking the right questions, we're not educated, and it starts with understanding that mammograms are not prevention, they're detection.
Where can we find this book? Because I think a lot of us need to read this book.
We need to read this book. It is available on Amazon.
Thank you.
It's available on Amazon.
Before we let you go, however, I know that there's one more nugget I'd like you to share with our listeners. Talk about bras.
Bras! Another wonderful mentor of mine. Oh my goodness, Bonnie Hamilton at the Wizard of Bras in Monrovia. You know, just years and years of custom fitting and all this great stuff. So bras, good or bad? Depends. Rules for a properly fitting bra. 1, it should not ride up your back, right? When you put it on in the morning, it should go around the band. The band should be perfectly even around, and it shouldn't move up. If it's moving up, it's not fitting properly. If your bra starts to squeeze you in the afternoon, have you ever experienced that? Like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it starts digging and you got to, like, you know, what happened? It didn't shrink, you swelled, okay? You're allergic to something in the fabric. And that's swelling that's happening. That's why you get home and you can't wait to take it off. You're allergic to that bra. So we have to find some different materials so that you don't have that reaction. Underwires. I got a lot of women coming in for exams because they have pain in their breast right here. And when I ask if they have an underwire, that's the end of the underwire, okay? It's poking you. Get rid of the underwire. Now, with COVID, a lot of women aren't even wearing bras. So we're enjoying that, that freedom, even though culturally in America, it's not really acceptable to be walking around without a bra. But get something soft and comfortable, and let's get used to just having our natural shape of our breasts. You know, we've let glamour tell us that they've got to be up here and perky and all this kind of stuff, and we're not all built like that. Get properly fitted bras. Victoria's Secret is not designed for most women. It's designed for really slender, tiny little women. They look great on them, but they're not really designed for the average woman. So get fitted properly, get a bra that isn't going to ride up your back, that isn't going to dig in your shoulders, and that isn't going to, you know, cause you to swell. So there you go. Oh, the other thing about the bras, and there was a study that showed that women that develop breast cancer tend to wear their bras for longer than 12 hours a day. That was another very, very interesting study. So think about what time you put it on and what time you take it off, right? And try to get it off within the first 12, within that 12-hour window, because it does restrict circulation, you know, so we want to be able to let them move around and have circulation, you know, like anything else in your body, right? If we're not moving around, we're not getting circulation and we're not getting oxygen, which helps to fight, you know, damaged cells. All those things are really important. It's the most restricted part of our bodies, really, because they don't get to move around like the rest of us.
Thank you so very, very much, Brenda, for coming. It's been great visiting with you. We had a blast, had a lot of useful information. So grateful for you to be here. We thank you so very much.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
And by all means, you are welcome. The door is always open, especially every October. Come back and join us. Thank
I'll
you.
see you then.
Thank you.
That was great seeing you again.
Thank you.
Before we leave, Anna, do you want to give us some parting thoughts?
So I want to start off by sharing a quote from John Lennon. John Lennon said the following quote, and by the way, today would have been his 80th birthday. And what he said is there are two basic motivating forces, fear and love. And when we are afraid, we pull back from life. When we are in love, we open to all that life has to offer with passion, excitement, and acceptance. Evolution and all hopes for a better world rest in fearlessness and open-hearted vision of people who embrace life. Why I share it with you today, I am a coach who works on the mindset of my clients as well as my own. Consistently. At the beginning of this year, I faced a fear of the unknown with my health that had to do with the girls. The fear was real. While you wait to go see a doctor, the fear takes over and you start to wonder, why you? Am I going to die? Am I going to live? So all of this crosses your mind. I cried. I felt sorry for myself. All of this was the fear of the unknown. But I had to pull myself back. I had a choice to sit there and let the fear take over or fight through it. So after sitting in my pity party, I chose to live and enjoy what life has to offer. We could only do that once we love ourselves, and love is the greatest emotion, and it starts with that. So loving myself and allowing myself to feel the fear and work through it gave me the courage to focus on life. And thank God it was nothing serious, yet I understand how fear could paralyze us. I share this with you to let you know we're all human and we have choices. Choose wisely, choose you, and I'm here to support you.
I love that. I love you, Anna.
Love you too.
You, Amy.
Yay, love you girls. Okay. Thank you, Anna. Thank you so very much. Lisa, I know you've got something that you want to get off your chest. Share with us.
So yeah, I wanted to bring up that movie, that controversial French film out there called Cuties that is out there on Netflix. And I read an article that said that Texas was bringing up a lawsuit against Netflix in regards to this movie Cuties and how they're exploiting young children or the sexualization of young children. And I've seen all this hype online about this movie Cuties. So I thought I'm going to sit down and I'm going to check it out. Let's see what kind of content it actually has in it. And yes, it's a French film. And, the French are always a little bit more risque than us Americans. And it is based on a story of a dance group of 11-year-old girls. And I know I've got 3 girls myself. I've got a granddaughter. So I know how these young girls can want to be older. I was a little girl. You two were little girls. All of you out there were little girls at one point. And so I can understand where you're at that young age and you want to be much older and you want to act much older. So you're going to do the things that older girls do. And this movie does show that story where these young 11-year-old girls think that they can put in sexy dance moves and they can show their private parts on social media. And social media is this huge thing right now where people are going on there and they're meeting other people they wouldn't meet normally face to face in real life. They're meeting them on the network. So that's what these girls are doing. And as the movie goes along, you see these things, and I'm thinking to myself as I'm watching the movie, oh, this is horrible. Oh my gosh, but I can also remember the things that my 14-year-old daughter shows me that her classmates or her peers are putting stuff on social media where they're actually sexualizing themselves. And as we go through the movie and see what these little girls are doing, and we're shaking our heads and going, this is horrible, this is disgusting. But by the end of the movie, it's actually teaching a lesson, showing these girls like the things that you are doing is not going to get the right kind of attention that you want from your peers or from other people. And you reach the end of the movie and you see that the results of their behavior and the things that they did actually didn't help them, and they realized that. So the movie actually comes with a lesson. I saw it, and this is my opinion, Amy and Anna might have a different opinion, you all out there might have a different opinion, but I actually believe the movie is out there to teach us adults, those young children that watch it, that maybe necessarily you can just wait a little while before you decide to grow up. And this is what I tell my kids. You have such a short childhood, but you have a long life. So take your time. You don't need to grow up today. And yeah, that's just my input on it.
I'm going to see it tonight. I didn't get to do it last night, but I get to do it today.
I've seen just a couple snips of it. It was quite bothersome, the couple of little snips I saw.
Yeah, it is. But watch it all the way through.
Yeah.
And then you'll see what I'm talking about.
Well, there you have it. You were here in the comfort zone and you heard all about the girls.
There you go.
So sorry, I'm adjusting my bra. I got Brenda's off. So
Good job.
yay!
Yay.
And that's a wrap.